So I read a scripture. I have a glass of water. I try and do a bit of stretching in the bed to just give myself a bit of a stretch. And then I'll have a green tea, an orange, because just good for the cellular regeneration. And then I will look at what's for breakfast. If I'm not going to work, I'll try and exercise, get out for a walk, go down to the gym, do some weights, do a class, aqua aerobics, something like that. But yeah, I do like, even if I'm going to work and I've got to leave out of here for 7:30, I still try and get up. So I'm not rushing, because that's one thing that we don't need to do is rush. It's about just making sure you've got enough time to settle yourself, so that if you get into traffic and you're sat in traffic, you're not thinking, oh God, I've got to be somewhere else. Just I'm just trying to be present as much as I can now with the day as I start it and having that routine.
Hello, my lovelies. How are you? How are you today? It feels like the Christmas season is upon us. My name is Karen Arthur, for those of you who don't know. I am the host of this podcast, Menopause Whilst Black, the podcast that is committed to sharing the stories, the menopausal stories of Black women, Black people, primarily based in the UK. We have moved into season 5. And we are on all the podcast platforms where you get your ear candy, and now also on YouTube. I've got a little, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, I've got a little blanket on at the moment because it's a little bit cold here. It's been raining all day, and I haven't done a lot. Although whenever I say I haven't done a lot and then I look back on it, I realise I've actually done quite a bit. But it's Sunday, self-care day. I had plans to go out and do all the things, and I didn't do it because Christmas is upon us and I don't feel like peopling today. So I've kept myself to myself. Anyway, let's talk about my next guest. So we are on season 5, episode 4 of Menopause Whilst Black. And my next guest, as usual, a lovely, nourishing, rich conversation with lots of tips and tricks for you to use if you want to or ignore if you want to. As usual, I am thrilled with my guest's honesty and candour and humour as well. So whatever you're doing, I know some of you are running. I realise that I guess the length of the podcast lends itself to running and walking outside. But if you are, whatever you're doing and however you're listening, I hope you enjoy, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, bye. Enjoy. Hello. Welcome to episode 4 of Menopause Whilst Black, the podcast. Today's guest is Paula Stewart. Paula is a nurse with a special interest in the menopause based in West Yorkshire. She provides holistic support for women navigating the midlife, as well as timeline coaching to reach your goal. Paula's story was most recently featured in the Channel 4 documentary with Davina McCall, Sex, Mind and the Menopause, which is still available to watch on all 4. Welcome, Paula.
Thank you for having me, Karen. Lovely to see you.
We've had some trials trying to get this done, some technical trials, and next door are fitting their kitchen. So I'm hoping that they have a pause from banging whilst we talk. We'll see how we go, shall we?
Yeah, definitely.
So what I didn't say is that you can find Paula on Instagram, although she's studying at the moment, so she's not as prolific on there. But if you want to get in contact with her, her website is thrivewithmenopause.co.uk. Is that right?
Yes, right. Yep, that's lovely.
Fabulous. So let's get into it. Tell us about yourself. Who are you outside your title?
Who am I? So I am Paula Stewart. I'm a mother of 2. I've got a boy and a girl. I should say a girl and a boy. The girl's first. She's 34. My son is 26. And I've been a registered nurse for 10 years nearly. And I'm a grandma of 2. A and just loving life, getting on with life. And I'm also a yoga enthusiast in training. And I'm also just started my non-medical prescribing at uni. So yeah, it's
Oh,
full on at
wow.
the moment, but
It's
outside
full
of
on. No wonder I haven't seen you on Instagram so much. I'm glad that we locked this in before you disappeared. Fantastic.
yeah.
So what is your heritage? Where are your parents from?
So my mum's from Barbados, the lovely island of
Yay!
Barbados. Yes. And my dad was from St Kitts, but he's now passed. He passed away in 2016. So I'm a bit of a dual heritage bunny.
Mm.
Yes.
And you're based in West Yorkshire. How long were you born there?
Born in Leeds, lived in Leeds for many years, then just moved 20 minutes down into what was rural Huddersfield at the time, but
Mm.
it just seems to become a little bit less rural with all the housing projects that have gone up.
Right.
So it's thinking now I need to be somewhere warm and a bit more rural, but a few more years for that plan to happen.
Oh,
Definitely.
that would be amazing. And how old are you, Paula?
I'm 55.
Okay. So the $1 million question, who taught you about menopause?
Well, I'm not going to say my mum because she didn't, and then bless her. I think back then it was definitely not a subject to be talked about.
Mm.
My mum, she's 89, and definitely not my mum. So I think just growing up, you didn't really hear about the menopause, let alone menstruation, did you? Even through school. Got into my 40s. And I thought something was going on with myself. So I went to the doctors and I started to think about the menopause then. But who's really taught me about the menopause? I think coming to work with the women on the estate 3 years
Mm.
ago is when I really capitalised on what good health and what the menopause sort of meant. So really taught myself a lot about the menopause, done courses, and just listened to my own body and worked
Yeah.
through that.
Yeah. So how did you know that menopause was starting for you?
The hot flushes, night sweats. I had some palpitations, and it was more around COVID. I think COVID was the biggest sort of revealing time because it was a bit of everything went a bit slower then. So
Mm.
2020, I'd noticed I was having some erratic periods in 2018, and started using a diary.
Mm.
But it was about 2020 when I really sat back and thought, this is happening, going through the
Yeah.
menopause. And then I saw the documentary, the first documentary that Davina did, and it just really started to sit home with me that, this is happening, and to look at how I could navigate that pretty, no, I wouldn't say easy, but just at my own sort of speed and how it was
Yeah.
going to affect me.
Yeah. You said about keeping a diary. That's such a fantastic idea. And so many people don't do that. What made you do that? What led you to, I mean, did you read that somewhere or do you think it was intuitive?
I was talking to another friend. She's younger than me, so I went,
Mm.
and she's in her 40s, and I was saying to her, "Look, I'm missing periods and things like that." I says, "You know what? I'm going to keep a diary because not been on a contraception for many years, and I just think getting to know your own body is about looking at when things are happening for yourself." So I used to just write down the start of my period, end of my period, and just how long those days were in between. Because I've never been somebody who's really had heavy periods and longevity of periods during my childhood and growing up. But it was
Mm.
just like I thought, if this is going to be the end, knowing that you've got to have 12 months free, I thought
Yeah.
if I start logging this down now, I'm going to really know sort of like when my 12 months cessation happens.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So you said you discussed it with your friend who's younger than you. Did you discuss did you have lots of discussions about menopause or did you discuss it with anybody else?
So I discussed it with my friend because I just think that as another woman, just letting her know this is what's happening to me. And if you're
Mm.
sitting with me, then these are some of the things I'm going to be going through. And I just want you to be aware. So if I'm not always paying attention to it, it's not because not interested, but there's other things going on for myself.
That's-
And just so that she's got the heads up for when her time comes, then this is what's going to happen. Also, now my daughter as well, she's very much up to speed with it because I've just said to her, again, this is what I'm going through. You're a young woman. You need to know for yourself how you're going to navigate your life going forward.
That's fantastic. It's great that you're having these conversations. It's great that you're passing on knowledge because I think what you said is really important about ensuring that the people coming up behind us are aware of what's going to happen, which is why you're doing your training, which is why I have these conversations, and so on and so forth. So you work in nursing. I'm presuming no, I don't want to presume. Where do you work? Is it hospital?
I work on a female estate, which is prison. So I'm now a health and justice nurse, and I have been for 6 years now, but I worked 3 years with the men. And again, coming to work on the female estate, it's even a bigger topic of how we can look after women well when not everything's in their favour. On the health side, I'd say it is because we've got a spectrum of healthcare professionals, but on the nourishment side of things, it's totally a different ballgame behind the walls. And people think it's a bed of roses. Yes, they've done something, but at the end of the day, if we want people to live well, we have to look after them regardless of where they are. It's just, life happens, shit happens, and we still need to ensure people are looked after. So, when they leave us, they've got some sort of premise on how to remotely look after themselves, even if it's just a small one thing to take away from leaving us. It's about what do they do for themselves going forward.
And how did you get into working in prisons?
Well, I don't like nights. Sorry, it's bad. So I started out in hospitals, locked wards, and then I went to a nursing unit. But because you're having to do shifts, and again, this takes a toll on the body. So when you're working 12 and 13-hour shifts back to front, and then you're going on to a 2-week pattern of nights, and you're having to do that again, it just takes a toll on the body, and you're missing out on the things during the day. Your rhythms are trying to work themselves back out. And I just thought, this is not for me. And I was really just feeling ill. So I saw this job advertised, and I thought, I'm going to ask them, do you have to work nights? And they said, no. So I thought, well, I'll try this and see how it goes. And I loved working on the male estate, but it was stagnant because it was high secure. And I just felt like the things that I'd asked for, like my prescribing, I felt like because they weren't giving it to me and helping me to progress, I had to leave because I just felt like I want to progress, I want to do other things. And just because I'm a learning disability nurse, that shouldn't stop me from doing the things I need to do, which is going to help other people. So I did a bit of community, and then COVID came, like I say, and that was really hard because I was looking after just a generic population within a nursing home, and that just took its toll again on me. And I just thought, if you're trying to get through midlife as comfortably as possible, you've got to find things that fit your lifestyle. So I went to do some bank work at the female estate. I spoke to the head manager there, told him who I was, and he says, we've got a role here. Would you like to apply? And I says, I don't interview very well, but we can try. He says, just do it. And I sat there for 3 years, and they see me as a person, and that's really nice. They see me outside of my role. They see that I'm very upbeat, or, they see that I'm good. I will try things. So when he asked me to do some meditation and yoga, I was like, well, I'm not really trained, but I'll do it. So I started from YouTube, and then they've put me through my qualification now. So I've just got one more exam on that, and I'll be a qualified yoga instructor, which we teach on a Tuesday night there.
That's fantastic. And it sounds like they really value you as well. They really see what you're bringing to the table. But also, there are lots of people for all sorts of reasons working jobs. And when someone asks them to do something new, they're like, I'm not going to try that. They like to stay within their comfort zone. It sounds to me like you are so committed to helping others and trying new things. Actually, that's stood in your favor, because you're building up more qualifications at the same time as well.
Yeah, I'm building the qualification, but I think it's more about the holistic thing. I think, it's giving people tools that when they say, well, I can't, yes, you can. You don't have to do an hour's yoga. It's this thing I always say to people, you can do 15 minutes. If you don't want to do a full hour session, I've had girls come in and just lay on the floor and fall asleep, or just, and it's like, if this gives you space just to have that time to connect back to yourself, then I'm happy to do it. And no, not everybody will do it, but the mental health team, we provide the yoga on a Tuesday evening, and it's fabulous. I'm not doing it at the moment because I'm at uni until next March, but as soon as April comes back, we'll be throttling through again with the yoga, because I enjoy it and it helps my body as well.
Yeah, it sounds very worthwhile. And it sounds like it's just what people need as well. I'm glad that there's a strong mental wellbeing team where you are. So your work colleagues know that you're menopausal? They must do now.
Oh, yeah, they do.
I don't know.
Well, they knew on the mail estate as well, because I used to tell people, look, this is what I'm going through, and we're going to meet women of all different ages. Our healthcare team are all different ages. And if I'm going to be somebody to champion the menopause, because some of the team will come through from a different different healthcare areas and say, oh, so what's going on with me? What do you suggest? And I'll say, look, this is what I think, but you have to go away and do some research for yourself. So they do know that I'm post-menopausal. And if I've had a bad night's sleep or something like that, I can either message and say I'm going to be a few minutes late, or I'm going to change my day of work. We are very flexible, and they're just,
brilliant. Well, my next question was going to be, how have they supported you? But it sounds like they're supporting you very well. It sounds like you're able to be flexible depending on what's going on with you.
Yeah, the support is that everybody gets support, because then we work on a wider, we try to filter it through to the prison staff as well about well-being. We've compiled a menopause strategy within the workforce now, and we also look at how we can help those within the estate, so like cooling fans and things like that. We try and look at bed washing, washing of the bedding for them as well. So we've got things in place for those within the estate. But for myself, I think you've got to be upfront and honest with people, because they won't know. They'll just think you're having an odd day, a bad day, or you're just feeling ratty. And I just rather say, look, this is what's going on. You know where I'm at. And let's just work around the rota. Let's work around what needs to be done with seeing people. And I am very flexible with helping other people out as well. So I think we just work, because the mental well-being around menopause and around mental well-being itself is a big thing.
Yeah, exactly. You said that you've got a menopause strategy. How did you go about creating that? Was it a group effort? Was it just you? How did that work?
So we consult with the estate. So anybody within the estate around that age bracket, we've consulted with those first, and then we went away and wrote a strategy. And it's not a massive one, because we don't want to make it so it's not achievable. So it looks at the route of holistic and then the GP route, so that we can do both routes. And it was just about going away, heads of healthcare, myself, other doctors. I'm a mental health manager, and just putting together how we could support people and what a menopause strategy should look like, making it simple but making it effective.
I want to ask a question, because I don't understand, and if I don't, my thing is, if I don't understand something, somebody else won't understand it either. When you say estate, I've got housing estate in my head, but you've also said that you work in a prison. So can you?
So when we say the estate, it's because it's a big. Obviously, for confidentiality, it's just we class it as an estate, because it's just a big area, and they are set out into different areas. So we've got different wings. So it is an estate. It is on an estate. It's actually in the middle of an estate. It is. So it is in the middle of a housing estate. Right.
Thank you for explaining that, because in my head I had, she doesn't work and she works in a housing estate. So it's about the language, basically.
Sorry, yes, yeah. And like you say, make it understandable. Yeah, so we are called the estate because that's what we work on, but we are in the middle of an estate, and most of them you'll find dotted around are on estates. And it's just nicer than saying, oh, God, yeah.
It
so we're helping
it absolutely is. It absolutely is. You won't know this, but I, spent decades of my life being quite quiet in meetings, in teaching, and as great as I was at my job, when it came to sitting in meetings, I found when they said things that I didn't understand, I didn't want to ask a question. Menopause has given me my voice. And so when I don't understand something, I don't care how stupid it sounds, I'm going to ask. And the number of times since I've been in places where I've asked a question, I've asked someone to explain what jargon means. And after it's been explained, the person next to me has leant across and whispered, thank you, I wanted to know too. So that's where that comes from. This is I need to know the answer. So thank you.
And that's still right, because obviously the people that I look after normally have some form of learning disability, learning difficulty, and I try to make it ever so simple. What I'm saying to them, just so that they know and understand where we're coming from. And I don't fluff anything up and put big words into to stuff. It's not worth the hassle, is it?
That's the northern in you as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So your menopause started at when did you hit that one, menopause day? How old
That
were you
one
then?
menopause day. So post-menopause, I'm 55. So I've been post-menopause 3 years now. So
Right,
52.
okay, 52. Yeah, so which is the average age.
Yeah.
What have been your most interesting or debilitating or fascinating symptoms, do you think?
So for me, the night sweats were bad because then it gives you that uninterrupted that sleep where it's bad, isn't it? You get interrupted sleep and then you're trying to function for the next day. I noticed going to the toilet a lot, which my friend used to say to me, "God, you carry your fanny around everywhere." I shouldn't probably say that on air, but
I love how you were like pausing. Am I going to say this? Am I going to say this? Yes, I'm saying it. Fanny.
yeah, she just said it. I was like, "Oh yeah, love. Wait till you get to my age." So there was that. What else? I had restless legs and tingling in the legs.
Okay.
I had like my face broke out one year, and it just really went like going back into teenage years, like acne and everything.
Mine is
That
still
was
breaking out. Still.
yeah. And
It's
then
just
I've just got
crazy.
for the last 3 weeks, I've had a really bad ear and throat. So I think that's partly dry ear and stuff. And so it's just yeah. I think I got away with. When I say got away quite lightly over the last 5 or 6 years because I've really gone in tune with myself and my diet and my exercise. So that's really helped these sort of like real debilitating symptoms. But the palpitations were a bit of a worry because I thought, what were going on there? I get anxiety, which people don't realise. I do get anxiety when I drive in the dark. Driving in dark don't work for me.
Yeah.
And I don't work for a lot of people when I speak to them. So I don't know what that's about, but I have real anxieties and going new places, have real anxieties about going new places. So, but
It's
other than
interesting,
that,
isn't it? Yeah, it's interesting because anxiety, mental well-being in particular, people don't often make the connection between that and menopause, and often that's why people are still being offered antidepressants. But anxiety, especially for people who have never suffered from anything before, can really take you by surprise. And that thing around driving is a thing. I've spoken to other people. I remember Natasha Landers saying that she's Until Lemons Are Sweet on Instagram, and she said that she would forget how to drive, which is crazy. It feels crazy, but it is, one of the symptoms. How do you tackle your social anxiety? Because I presume you still go out.
bit of CBD.
Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube, you saw what Paula did. But if you're not and you're just listening, she winked at me, guys. So it is legal,
Yeah, CBD. So I've got some CBD vapes, and I do vape every now and again just to.
But wait a minute, you talk me through this, please.
Sorry, don't do this. So my daughter, in her wisdom, has some vapes, and she says, "Oh, Mum, do you want to try this? It's got CBD." And I was like, "Oh, go on then." So I now have 2 CBD vapes, which I have one in the car and one in a handbag.
Right.
And if I'm going somewhere and I feel like this is not going to be for me, I do about 4 or 5 puffs on it, and it gets me through. I mean, I do a lot of meditation and yoga as well, but I do have.
Yeah, but you don't know what's working now. Is it the CBD? Is it? Listen, try whatever you can.
I use, it's the thing is, and people will say, even like a little bit of, like I've been to Amsterdam and did a bit of wacky backy, and people say, "Oh, you shouldn't do it," but if it helps calm the nervous system, but you can't do it now that you work in the health and justice system because you are searched and you could be drug tested. And for me, that wouldn't be a good look. So, but a CBD.
Not trying to get you in trouble, Paula.
Oh, no, I get myself into trouble.
I love it. When you first spoke, I thought you said, with your accent, I thought you said CBD bakes. And then you said, and then I thought, oh, she's baking. She's baking wacky backy brownies.
Oh, don't go there. I don't, but my daughter might.
I remember once, I don't know whether I should say this, I'm going to say it anyway. My daughters would promise to make me, I've never had, full disclosure, I'd never had any wacky backy. And my daughters promised to bake me some hash brownies for my birthday. And I forgot all about it. This was last year. I forgot all about it. And I asked them months later, I was like, oh, what happened to those, brownies? They bloody ate them. They didn't give it to me. So yeah, but yeah, when it comes to, we've gone off piece slightly, but when it comes to looking after yourself, do what works.
You have to do what works. You do.
Yeah,
You do.
yeah, absolutely. So you're a nurse. Did you also consult a doctor about your
Well, when I
menopause?
went to the doctors back in my early 40s, they didn't recommend a blood test, although they did one, and there was nothing conclusive. So since then, no, there's been no GP diagnosis or anything. I've just really self-diagnosed myself and
Yeah,
taken myself through it.
yeah. And you went in your 40s because you were having perimenopause symptoms, or?
Yes, I was having, which I didn't really understand back then. So I was
Yeah,
having perimenopause symptoms.
yeah.
But it was just sort of like brushed under the carpet sort of thing. It was about, oh, you might need to lose a bit of weight. Probably, there were nothing
Yeah.
conclusive. So I just thought you need to just get a grip of yourself and go about your business.
Right. Yeah. So what else has helped you? I mean, you've told me quite a lot. The question is, do you take any medication?
Not at the moment. No. And it's not because I've done a lot of research, and because I was poorly as a child and had a lot of steroid treatment.
What was wrong with you? What did you have?
Asthma. So I had debilitating asthma,
Okay.
which wasn't very nice because I missed quite a bit of school in that, like between 10 and 12. But I think then looking at the research and not always being, again, au fait about, there's so much research out there that it becomes very confusing. And then because nobody offers you a health screening, to be fair, it's like you either got to decide what's really working for you or not working, and then how do you then implement your own strategies. So no, I used a bit of ashwagandha again. So I'm more of an adaptogenic girl. So I used a bit of ashwagandha when I had like the palpitations and the night sweats, and that really did help.
Oh, good.
And
How
then,
did you take it? Was it how did you take it? Was it
it's a
dropped?
powder which you just mix in water and drink it like a tea. So you
Okay.
could take it either morning or evening.
Okay.
So I used that for a while, and that really did take the flushes down. So never thought about any sort of replacement therapy because I do a lot of phytoestrogens and things like that. And
Yeah.
I just think if I needed to, I would probably consult my own doctors within where I work and then go back to my own GP that way.
How has your diet changed between, let's say, your 50s to your 30s? And if it has, what's different?
So I became vegan, but now I've become plant-based. So I used to eat a lot of meat and sugar and stuff. Well, I cut the sugars out quite some time ago, but I'd say it's radically changed that I use more plant-based milks and butters, more fruit and veg. I do eat a bit of fish now, so if my sister watches this, she'll kill me. But you have to, again, listen. You have to listen to your body. I broke my ankle coming up to 3 years ago, and since then, I now have a hip problem. So you have to look at how you adjust things for yourself. So yeah, I don't drink much alcohol. Very rarely do I drink. Don't physically smoke. I exercise as much as I can, and I do love exercise. But I do like exercise that fuels me, not about what other people are doing. I like the exercise that I do. I used to be a really good runner. Well, when I say good, I used to enter a lot of runs and things, not for time, but to raise money for charity. So I used to do that. I ran for about 15 years, and that really helped the asthma, which is really brilliant. So I'm going to take that back up, but slowly. So yeah, my diet has really changed. You've got to, I think, again, and lots more water, and it changes all the time because it's like I might have a routine on a morning where I start with a bit of lemon water, then water, green tea, orange, and then I try and cook things out so that I can start eating a bit later in the day, because obviously you've got to watch how much you eat as you get past
was this, I'm interested to know. I remember I was with a friend, I'm going to say 15 years ago, maybe longer. I remember her saying that she doesn't eat chips. And I remember thinking, how can you not eat chips? Like, I don't understand. I couldn't fathom a future without the foods that I love, whether it's chips, whether it's chocolate, whatever. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, I do eat chips, but I've moved to the seaside, and you'd think I'd be eating fish and chips every week. But actually, I've probably had it about 3-4 times. So I wonder if your diet change was a conscious decision? This is what I need to eat. This is what I need to cut out. Or did it kind of did you find that you kind of seeded into it because you didn't really fancy it because you knew it didn't work for you? Does that make sense? Or was it a combination of the two? Because you said you gave up sugar, for example, and I just thought, okay.
Well, sugar I cut out many years ago because I just used to drink like herbal teas, and it doesn't, for me, sugar and herbal teas don't equate. And then I used to do Weight Watchers anyway. Back then I was doing weight watching, and you find sugar in so much of your foods that you're just adding it all the time, and it ages your sugar and it breaks down elastins in the skin. So, and it's not good. So I cut that out. But I think living a life without chips and things like that you like, to me, is sacrilege. What's the point? You need to have things in moderation, haven't you? You know, I still have things. I don't say that I don't drink, but like special occasions. So I think I had indigestion issues, which stems from my mum as well. So again, it's the things that are good for the digestive system. So that's why if you cut out a lot of the fatty milks and fatty butters and certain things which don't work for you, it's about putting things in that do. I mean, like avocados, I don't like them, but I'll eat them because of the healthy fats. Nuts I've got to be very careful with. I think my allergies are playing up so that the histamine receptors in the body now are saying you can only eat so many nuts before I get a flare-up, so I've got to be very careful there. But I think if you listen to the body, it'll tell you what it needs.
I think that's the point. I think that last sentence is it, isn't it? Because some people will listen. I know some, obviously people listen for information, but that wouldn't necessarily work for them. So it's important. What's clear here is that you know yourself and that you know that certain things work for you and certain things don't, And I think that's the most important, thing to take away from that. You talked about routine. You keep preempting my questions. Could you stop doing that, please?
Oh, sorry.
My question was, do you have a routine? And if you do, would you care to share it?
Yeah, I do. I love the routine that I think this was instilled. So I used to be a network marketer, which we used to do really nice products online, but I don't do that now. And it was this thing about setting yourself up to have the best day possible. So my routine now, just, before I get out of bed, I read a scripture every day, and it's simple. It comes up on the phone, and it just really sets me up for the day. So I read a scripture. I have a glass of water. I try and do a bit of stretching in the bed to just give myself a bit of a stretch. And then I'll have a green tea, an orange, because just good for the cellular regeneration. And then I will look at what's for breakfast. If I'm not going to work, I'll try and exercise, get out for a walk, go down to the gym, do some weights, do a class, aqua aerobics, something like that. But I do like, even if I'm going to work and I've got to leave out of here for 7:30, I still try and get up. So I'm not rushing, because that's one thing that we don't need to do is rush. It's about just making sure you've got enough time to settle yourself, so that if you get into traffic and you're sat in traffic, you're not thinking, oh God, I've got to be somewhere else. Just I'm just trying to be present as much as I can now with the day as I start it and having that routine.
I love that. Lots of people talk about reading something in the morning, whether it's scripture, whether it's journaling, whether it's about that silence as well, isn't it? It's about like you said, setting yourself up for the day. And these, I suppose, are, important things that you pass on to your coaching clients as well.
Yeah, you've got to, because I think we can set ourselves up to have the worst possible day by just being narky. From the minute you get up, everything's bothering you.
You heard it here first, guys. Narky. No, not narky, narky.
Or we can set ourselves up to think, right, gratitude. I've slept in a warm bed. I've got up and I've got some toast and some milk and some whatever in my house. I can start my day. I can feel my body. I can feel my mind. And you're setting yourself up then to have a positive day. I then put some music on and I will shake out that energy, because once you've laid in the bed, you've got to shake some energy into yourself. And I just try to be as upbeat as possible, because I do believe that whatever you put out there in your energy field and force is what you get back. And then, so if I meet somebody with energy and they're not giving me the same back when I get to work, see you later, I'm done, I'm gone.
100%. I love that. That what you put out, you get back is so important. I'm glad that you mentioned it. What's your favourite exercise? Or does it depend on the day, I suppose?
So,
I don't know,
So I do like lifting weights, but not obviously overly heavy. I like body balance, body pump. I like getting in the water and doing some aqua aerobics and aqua fit now. Because again, it's about adjusting the workload to your body again.
Yeah.
I like walking in nature as well. I do love a good walk in nature.
Mm, I suppose the question should have been, what exercise do you not like?
Oh, there's nothing I won't try. There's nothing I won't try.
Yeah. Yeah. You come across as someone who would try anything once,
Yeah.
as long as it benefits. That's great. How do you honor yourself? How do you celebrate yourself, Paula? You do
Mm.
so much for others. How do you give back to yourself?
So I give back to myself by taking rest, even when. So sometimes you can push through, and you just think, why? So I honour myself by just resting. I do a lot of resting, although it doesn't look like it at times. I do. I just switch off. Might put a Christmas movie on, which my daughters then say, "Mum," but I do put something on that I like, and just give back to myself. Sometimes I might put my feet in my little spa thing that I've got and just let it bubble over me. I might put a
Yeah.
face mask on. I just try and be as rest it, try and get some rest into myself. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And I have two more questions. The first one is, which tune instantly makes you want to dance? Because I want to put it on my Spotify Menopause Whilst Black playlist. That was really hard to say.
So you've got
What's your favourite tune?
the new one by Tyler, Water.
Walter, the new one by Tyler. I actually know the one you're talking about. I'm in shock. I never know new records. My children would be proud of
It's
me.
infectious.
Honestly. Okay. And she's singing now, guys. Love it.
Oh God.
Oh my goodness me. What's the one piece of advice you would give to any Black woman listening to us now?
I think the one piece of advice I'd give is definitely take time to get to know your body, how you're feeling, to speak up when you're not feeling your best self. Ask for help, and really just honor any time that you need to rest. Just honor that time for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It is about, it's hard to speak up sometimes, isn't it? It's hard to talk to people, but if you're able to find someone who'll listen and keep those lines of communication open, it's a game changer in terms of how you can access your menopause care. Thank you, Paula. Thank you so much. We didn't get any banging. We did really well. The guy fit in the kitchen next door seems to have gone quiet. So I think we'll be okay. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been a lovely chat.
And good luck with all your studies. And I look forward to seeing the next things that you're doing.
Yes.
How lovely is Paula? It was so nice to talk to somebody with a northern accent, someone with a different, he's not from London, I suppose. I loved the funniness of what she was saying, and also the honesty when she was talking about how she calms herself, about her social anxiety. I now realise with retrospect that social anxiety was something that was one of my menopause symptoms. But because I was more concerned about the fact that I couldn't work or that I'd just left my job, it didn't occur to me to put those numbers together and realise that that was something. But quite a few people talk about having never been anxious and then, growing into this feeling of not wanting to go out. So I'm glad that she was able to share her tips and tricks for how to manage that kind of anxiety. If you want to connect with Paula, I know she's busy doing her exams and getting her qualifications, and I'm so proud of her for doing that. She's an absolute advert for It's Never Too Late. And I'm thrilled also that her workplace is supporting her, because that's a wonderful thing. Lots more workplaces could do with that kind of guidance. So you can find her on Instagram on Thrive with Menopause. And I will put all of that information in the show notes because obviously it's gone from my head now. I wanted to talk to you about the NICE guidelines. Now, NICE is, I'm just getting this up so I can read it, but of course I can't find it now. Where is it? The NICE guidelines. So NICE stands for the National Institute for Clinical Excellence. And they've brought out a guideline to do with called menopause diagnosis and management. If you Google NICE menopause diagnosis and management, or go to nice.org, you will find this what is it called? This guideline. Now, the thing about these guidelines is they were last updated, I think, in 2019. So they're well overdue an update because lots of menopause care has changed and evolved since then. But it is a consultation document. So basically, it's 30 pages long. Please don't let that put you off. Make yourself a cuppa or make yourself a nice drink. Sit yourself down and do have a read, because a consultation document means that you can have an input. The deadline is the 5th of January. I will put the link in the show notes. I urge you to have a look. Decide, does what they're asking you, or what they're telling you, does that equate with your experience of menopause? You know, it's a brilliant opportunity for you to share your feedback as an individual or as an organisation. Don't be put off by the fact, as I said, that it's 30 pages long, or by any unfamiliar medical jargon. I would put tabs open and do some Googling for the words. I do that all the time. But pay extra attention to the parts that are relevant to your experience. Is there anything you could have done with or need now that would make your menopause ride easier? Do you see yourself represented amongst the pages? Have your say. And if you think it covers all bases, then at least you've learned a little bit more about future plans for menopause care in the UK, and perhaps some new words too. So basically, this guideline is for all medical professionals, how they deal with talking to people who are experiencing menopause, and how they allow us to access our care and how they care for us. That noise is my tea, the spoon in my tea. Sorry, I should have put that down. The deadline's the 5th of January. Do have a look. Please have your say. The thing about these documents is that they can be quite scary, and we often think that when they drop that they're nothing to do with us, or because we're not in certain circles, or it's not advertised widely, or it's not in the media, or the media that we access, it can feel like it never gets to us, and we feel like it's a done deal. It isn't a done deal. So NICE guidelines, menopause diagnosis and management is a consultation document, and it needs your say. The deadline is the 5th of January. Get involved. And it remains for me to say, well, there's a couple of things. The Joy Retreat Barbados, doors are open. I'm taking 10 Black women in any stage of menopause to Barbados from the 29th of April to the 6th of May. If you do not know what I'm talking about, then drop me a line, thekarenarthur@mail.com. You must be new here. But also, just to let you know that the 3-month payment plan ends at the end of this month, so the 31st of December. If you want to spread the cost of the payment, that ends on the 31st of December 2023. If it sounds like something that is for you, you can read more about it, or email me and I will send you a link, or pop onto Instagram and Facebook. All the information is on there at Menopause Whilst Black. Deep breath. Gosh, we have entered that season, and we have entered the Christmas season. I feel like we've entered with a vengeance. I was in London yesterday, actually, but I was also in London last week, and I went into Liberty's and I took myself up to the fourth floor, which is the Christmas floor. And I didn't get halfway round when I had to come out again. There were so many people. It felt frenzied. And that was the first day of December. I feel like there is so much sadness and tragedy in the world that it almost feels like people have brought Christmas earlier. And I understand that. And I will also urge you to ensure that you are also rooting for the underdog. And if there are things that you can do to help people who are suffering right now, who are suffering from genocide, who are suffering from being displaced, being at war, then do what you can there as well. I chat a lot about this on Instagram, and I've been on quite a few marches, particularly for Palestine. There are also people in the Sudan and in the Congo, and there are things going on in Guyana and lots of other places in the world. So if you can spare a thought and think about something you can do as well to help, then I don't know, please do so. But I would also say, sounds like the opposite of this, to look after yourself. The news is heavy. It seems heavier, maybe because it comes to us quicker. And so it's really important in these times not only to lean into your own self-care, whatever that might be, and that might be stepping away from the news sometimes, but also leaning into your joy. Don't be afraid to share what you love. Don't be afraid to look for the glimmers. Don't be afraid to be proud of the things that you're doing, because it's almost like an act of defiance and resistance to do amazing things and look for the beauty in life despite what's going on out there. That was a bit of a ramble. I know what I mean. I hope you do too. If you loved this episode with Paula or any of the other episodes, I urge you to share it with at least one other person. Share it with your workplace. Hop over to YouTube, like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Or you can subscribe on iTunes, on Spotify, on Amazon Music, or wherever else you get your podcast listening pleasure. I think that's a long outro, but I guess I had a lot to say today. Look after yourselves, won't you? Rest when you can. Say yes with your chest. Don't say yes to things that you really, really don't want to do, especially at this time of year. See if you can find a quiet corner or get some quiet to yourself, even if it's only 5 minutes. Drink your water. Still wear your SPF. Just because the sun's not blazing and it's not hot doesn't mean, we still don't have an ozone layer. Look after yourself, and I will see you next week. All right. You take good care. Bye.